Snowflake production.
Yo, what is poppin'? We're gonna break down Shopify here. So this is Shopify on the TSX. So if you're looking at the prices and you're American and you're like, what the heck? Why is it going so much more expensive? It's not. This is just the Canadian dollar version, right? So here we go. Overall, these are the levels I have marked out on Shopify, right? So if you're looking at these lines or these boxes and you're like, what the frick is this guy talking about? Well, let's get into that, right? So huge drawdown. This is what happens. This is drastic sell-off in this bear market. So we've been downtrending for a significant period of time now. It's been about a year since we've topped. So now we've came down and we kind of came back to this level. This was a high back in February that we made. This was right before the 2020 COVID crash, right? So this zone we looked at to see if it will act as support, and it came down and we got a bounce off of it. So we're going to keep that marked out because eventually in the future that'll be marked as like a resistance, right? If we run up into that area, $68-$70, it'll likely be a resistance zone because look, it was previous support, and previous support will tend to act as resistance if we go below that price. Excuse me. Alrighty, let's get further into this. So again, marked out this area because again, similar thing. If you draw this all the way out over here, look where it comes back to, like this zone. So it's very important to mark out your areas on a chart because these show us support and resistance and where there's like a supply or a demand area, right? It's clear this is a supply zone right now, right? And look, again, previous, it acted as support one time, came up, shot below it. It's acted as resistance once, twice, 3 times. We could call that 4, 5, a bunch of times here, 6, right? And then we've come here in the past, back in August 2019, had some price action in this area in the past. So when you see this, right, this zone is a major zone. We need to break above it. Now when we zoom in, right, a lot of this stuff you might be like, why is he repeating himself? I'm just trying to drill this to see and show how important it is. Because these areas are solid areas, and if you're able to read the price, once you see it break above this area, that could like signal a trade idea for you, or maybe that's when you could like pull the trigger and be like, all right, now I want to get into this stock because now it has completely broken this downtrend, right? So we've been downtrending again full year, but this zone, right, we've been trying to break up over it multiple times, but we can't. Every time we hang around here for a little bit, we get a nice rejection. Look what's going on, right? And again, we have this downward trend line because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like prices hit this trend line multiple times. So if we were to come back down to these levels, you would consider this a buy zone because every time we've come back to these levels, it's been a support, if that makes sense to you. So this horizontal line here, again, it was a support back in June 2019, September, November, and then we got a push up, and now look over here, right, we've come and touched that zone multiple times. So this is where we're fighting. Again, we can draw another line here. I don't want to draw too many lines because a lot of the people, you guys might not be as adept to like looking at charts as I am, right? So the more lines, the more distracting. But this is another line I'm seeing here where we've bounced once, twice, 3 times. We're holding it as support. If we can't hold it any longer, right, we could be shaping up a potential, maybe a head and shoulders pattern or something, right? So there's a few different things that could happen from here where we potentially do something like this. We try to break up again and we can't. And then we go like that, right? And we come back into this zone. That's a potential that could happen. We could also get this bounce where we weaken this area, right? So we hold this as support. We weaken this zone. We keep going like this, and then we break up above it. That would be bullish, and we'd want to see it continue to the upside after that. So those are kind of like the bullish and bearish outlooks of what I'm looking at right now, right? But that's kind of what I'm looking here at Shopify. I think this is a huge accumulation zone, and I think right now, right, we zoom out. Geez, Murphy's losing his mind. I think we zoom out here, weekly time frame. This big cup, right, goes a long way, I think, if you're looking at this as a long-term trading investment, trading, positional trade investment, whatever you want to call it. I think we have a big booty bottom coming here. And eventually, over time, who knows, we launch out and it will come back into these zones. But first, we'll have to break these levels that we mentioned earlier. So that's the breakdown on Shopify. I apologize for Murphy barking nonstop, but that's the breakdown.